Happy Friday, everybody. It's time for another inspiration.
Fascination.
And you found us in the beating soul of Tracy's home.
Yeah, you guys know this is where we spend most of our time. We even spend a lot of our time with you here. You guys have asked us so many good questions over the months, over all the time we spend together about the kitchen.
Yes, and to us it's so normal. You know, we spend most of our days here getting ready to film. We were together on lots of banter when you and John designed the kitchen.
Sarah has been through it all with us. We figured it was high time to get in here and share all the details. Your questions have been so fantastic, and there's so many good things about this kitchen. There are things we want to share with you that we love that we did, and then there are of course things that, you know, it would be worth rethinking. So
there's practical things.
Yes, there are.
There are tips and secrets that I love that allow us to live and have an experience in the kitchen more beautifully.
Absolutely. And there are, you know, little bits and pieces that are things that maybe you do already, or that you might see, or that will point out that might actually truly enhance your kitchen living.
I think it will.
I'm going to make us some tea.
Sounds good.
And we can jump in. Why don't you point a fabulous thing out?
I will. Well, I've got some fantasies happening in the kitchen, you guys, that I don't have in my house. Now, this might be very normal to you, but it's something that I am hoping for at some point. You know, Tracy has 4 little guys at her home, in her home, and, you know, dishes become quite something most days. So they were smart enough from day one to install 2 dishwashers. Now that's fantasy for me.
It was my father's idea.
Was it really?
Yeah, you know what? My dad, do you want this with anything in it?
Just a little bit of sugar, please.
All right, a little sugar.
I'm more of a coffee girl, so she's not sure about how I take the tea.
She does black coffee. It was my dad's idea.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it really works.
2 side by side, and most days that I'm over here, there's one that's full, dirty, ready to be turned on, and then there's one that's empty, ready to be unloaded. If you didn't have 2, what would you do?
I would have so many dishes in the sink. It would be ridiculous. This is you.
Thank you.
No, it would be ridiculous. Now, we get it entirely that you might not be able to right away put another dishwasher into your home. But if you're ever in the middle of a rehab, it would be a great thing to do, because especially if you entertain a lot, or if you've got, you know, a whole slew of kids.
Yes, it's fantasy.
It is so practical, it's ridiculous.
Right. Now in our home, we just have 2 kids who keep us busy and full of dishes. Yeah. But literally, I am emptying and starting it once a day, as I'm sure you guys can relate to.
And at our farmhouse, you know, I don't know if you remember this, but we had this dinky little dishwasher that you could fit all of like 4 glasses in.
You didn't even use it.
I didn't use it. It made me nuts.
No, you stood. She had a kitchen counter that was this low, and she stood there, her long, tall self, with a backache, trying to wash dishes every night, right? So we need to talk and transition to this, because this is spectacular.
This was one of our favorite things. You know, the kitchen in our farmhouse, I don't know if you guys know this, but John and I had this farmhouse that we did this whole rehab on when we first moved to Wisconsin. It was so good for us, because top to bottom we had to rehab this thing. And there was so much learning about what worked for us and what didn't work. And that's the cool thing about thinking through how you live and what you want in your home. So the kitchen sink was my nemesis, because
she just kept talking about it.
It just made me nuts. And so when we were building this kitchen, I said to John, we are going to go and get ourselves one of those huge industrial restaurant sinks. So we went to this used restaurant place, and I don't know, we got this for, I think it was like, I don't even know. It was cheap. It was cheap. And it's so practical, because they literally ripped it out of a kitchen. So what's great about it is you can see how deep the sinks are. We used to bathe Max and Finn in these sinks when they were babies.
Yes.
And this huge thing allows for, you know, all kinds of, you know, serious washing. I love this thing. I would never go back to.
I don't think you'd know how.
I wouldn't be able, the whole kitchen would be soaked.
And aside from serious washing and practicality, I've been here many occasions when Tracy and John are entertaining. Is this not always a conversation piece? Does every guy in the room not want to come over and squirt it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a guy.
You know, it's, yes.
But it's cool, because we can load it up like you're entertaining. You've always got stuff. We don't do the dishes when we're entertaining. We just put them in the sink. Then you're not seeing them. But it's so practical. It's got this huge, this is all connected to it. So water goes up here and it slides right down.
It's the big drain tray. It's the big drain tray. It's
and this
perfect.
is a little pretty thing to point out too. So we've got this huge industrial sink, But then, you know, to add just a little bit of charm to it, you know, put this little platter here, the 2 blue foos, you know, surround anything that you've got that's really practical with beautiful things too, because I think that's so nice.
It's so important because, as we always say, the experience is for you.
Yes.
The touches that you put out, no one may recognize or notice, but as you walk through your kitchen, you're going to see it, and you're going to feel so good that you've taken the time to put those little touches in for yourself.
And it's a balance, you know. You know, we get that entirely. I love really practical things because I just find it makes living in general so much easier when you have everything where you need it. But you know, it's taken me time to figure out, you know, what needs to be near this and how, you know, how I function. I do a lot of dancing around in the kitchen. We added this great shelving unit under here too, which is wonderful because I want to grab a pot, I throw it on the stove, the sink is right here. You know, I love all the triangles that you put into kitchens, and by that I mean, you know, you're moving from this place to this place and this place to that place. But within that, even though we have a very industrial looking kitchen, the little pretty touches, I think, are what soften it. And this is another point that you and I talk about all the time, is not leaving junk out on your countertops that you're not using all the time.
Yes, it's one of my favorite discussion points when I go into a kitchen, because we all either do it or used to do it or now have an eye for it. But, you know, in this moment we live in, everything comes packaged or, you know, has its own clutter about it. My rule in my kitchen is keep out the things that you truly need to have at arm's reach just about at any moment. Right?
Because and there's a lot that you don't.
Yes, and keep that tucked away, whether you've got cabinets or cupboards or a pantry or a little closet nearby. You know, I keep my toaster out all the time, and I see you do too.
I do. We use our toaster every single day.
Every morning.
I love having a nice toaster, a practical toaster.
You know, I have, you know, pretty little things that I keep out, but selectively.
Yes.
So that it's not too cluttered. I want to have room for my stack of books and some pretty utensils.
Do you keep your coffee maker out?
I do, just because it's a problem.
We keep ours out too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily love the way it looks.
I don't either.
You know, so what? We keep it out. I don't keep out my Cuisinart, even though I use it a lot. I don't keep it out because it's kind of a big, bulky thing, and I don't really use it every single day.
Yeah. I keep 2 copper pots out on my stove top, just because it's so homey and pretty.
They're so
you know,
pretty.
Be selective about it. Don't let your countertops become a place for all of your stuff.
It's easy.
Don't leave your loaf of bread and its wrapper out on the counter unless, you know, it's a European baguette.
You're not at it all the time.
Are you
I like to grab a piece of it, like a pirate.
Like a pirate.
Pirates are eating much more.
So speaking of, this was our conversation this morning. One of our favorite things about your galley kitchen, and it's why we choose to film this way, you guys, is because you guys chose glass fronts to your cabinets, but you had a caveat.
Well, we did. You know, I love glass fronts in a kitchen. I love it for so many reasons. To me, it makes me think of wonderful European kitchens, and I wanted them to go really tall and high, but the deal was for us, I'm really kind of excited about little stacks of things. I know I've shared that with you guys. And Sarah, I love order.
Neatness.
I do. I really love it.
Similar things together.
So I love seeing stacks of plates or lots of glasses in a row or that kind of thing. You know, I just think it's so pretty. If this all of a sudden became a bunch of Rice Krispie boxes and half-opened Frito-Lay packages, I think it would get really ugly. It would just bug the heck out of me.
It takes the charm right out.
Exactly. So, you know, if you have glass front cabinets and they turn into that and you don't know what to do with them, you know what I think I would do? I'd put just a
pretty little fabric.
Slam some up.
That's right. Hot glue it, nail it, get something, Velcro, whatever you need.
Some little European cafe
curtain.
You know, and if you can keep the upper parts nice and tidy, then that's cool, and let the lower part. Because, you know, I get it, not everybody has a pantry. You know, we didn't have a pantry for the longest time, and for us it was just, you were just shoving things in the kitchen anywhere you could find a spot.
Yeah.
You know, and not everyone gets the opportunity to design their kitchen. It's sort of a situation where you move into a house, this is what you've got, so you sort of deal with that set of rules, and that's very real, and it works too.
Okay, I have a new topic that I know is one of your favorites to talk about. We can't take it for granted. Okay, we have the functionality in your kitchen of the stainless steel counters, but if you were asked the question, Tracy Porter, what's your fantasy countertop material, it would be
white marble.
So
such a fantasy.
But you
about
found
that.
a way to get it in.
I did. Oh, this is a really good point. That was such a good point.
Thank you.
So we did stainless steel countertops for two reasons. One is it was sort of all that was in the budget, and it was really practical for us because we pull pots out of the oven, we put them, you know, that's just how we work in our kitchen. Everything is just needs to really function like that. But I can honestly say someday I would love to have white marble countertops. So for us to get that in, what we did is we had this slab of marble left over from a sink, and I put it over here. This is just a slab we literally stuck up there, and it works out great because it lets me have a little bit of each. And then I've got another little chunk at the other end. Right. That's, you know, I just bought another chunk of marble, but it's such a great way to get what you want into your kitchen.
If something that if you have a goal that it's a big one and you're not quite there yet, don't think that it's all or nothing. Don't we all do this to ourselves? You think, well, my kitchen's not going to be amazing until I have that, whatever it might be.
Not the case.
Find a way. I mean, I have in my kitchen a darling little petite marble shelf that hangs above my stove with my spices and things on it.
European.
Yeah, and you know what? It's great. It gets me my little flavor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Without having to go to the big expense, and that's wonderful.
Exactly. I think that, you know, I think that's the point that you're making is so key because it is so easy for us to go, oh, you know, well, I guess I won't get to that.
Not the case. Find a way to get it in.
Yes.
Yes.
Whatever you want. If you don't, you know, you had mentioned you wanted to be able to have an island someday that you could have baskets underneath. Well, Sarah does a great job by bringing baskets into her kitchen in other ways, and eventually
we'll get there.
It'll happen.
You know what we're talking about, girls? When you have those rustic European baskets where you keep all your little potatoes and onions and shallots and things ready at arm's reach. Don't you just love that?
Yes. If you have that in your kitchen, you email us.
Oh, I love that. Yes, we'd love to see them in the community.
So we could go on and on. There are
so
many bits and pieces, you know, that we can talk about. We've written about some of it, as you guys can see, but you know, there's a lot of good stuff here. We would love you to share your kitchens with us because we know that you guys have such inspiring spaces. And we
would for sure find lots of things to help us enhance our kitchens just from seeing yours.
You know, we love hanging out in your kitchen with you.
Cheers. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.